Why can't you kiss a man without going and marrying him? First, you sometimes love too wildly, and when you feel that way, so nice all over, you can't help yourself. I wish some man or other would take me sometime when he's there and kiss me in his arms. Oh, there's nothing like a kiss, long and hot, down to your soul. It almost paralyzes you. And then, I hate that confession when I used to go to Father Corrigan. He touched me, Father. And what harm if he did? Where? On the canal bank. That's what I said, like a fool. But whereabouts on your person, my child? On the leg behind. Was it high up? Yes, rather high up. Was it where you sit down? Why couldn't he have just come out and say bottom right out and have done with it? Oh, Lord, what has that got to do with it? Whatever way he put it, and what business did it make? And I said, no, Father. And I always think of the real Father. What did he need to know for? I already confessed it to God. He had a nice fat hand, the palm moist always. Wouldn't mind feeling it either. Neither would he, I'd say, by the bull neck and his horse collar. I wonder, did he see me in the box? I could see his face, of course. He couldn't see mine. Now, he'd never turn and let on, but his eyes were red when his father died. They're lost for a woman, most of them. It must be terrible when a man cries, let alone them. I'd like to be embraced by one in his vestments and the smell of incense off him like the Pope. Besides, there's no danger with a priest. He's too careful about himself. And then give something to the Pope for a penance. I wonder, was he satisfied with me? For one thing, I didn't like him slapping me behind, going away so familiarly like that in the hall. And though I laughed, I'm not a horse or an ass, am I? Suppose he was thinking of his father. I wonder, is he awake, thinking of me? Or dreaming? Am I in it? I wonder who gave him that flower he said he bought. He smelt of some kind of drink, not whiskey or stout, but perhaps that other kind of, the sweetie kind of paste. They stick up their bills with some liqueur, yeah. I'd like to sip those rich-looking green and yellow expensive drinks, those stage door Johnny with the top hat drinks with the opera hats. I tasted one with me finger. I dipped it out with my hand. One of that American that had that squirrel talking stamps with Father. He had all he could do to keep himself from falling asleep. After that last time we had the port and the potted meat, that had a fine salty taste. Yes, because I felt lovely and tired myself, and I fell asleep sound as a top until that thunder woke me up as if the world was coming to an end. Oh, I thought the heavens were coming down about us to punish when I blessed myself. I said a Hail Mary, like those awful thunderstorms that we used to have in Gibraltar. And then they come and they tell you there's no God. Wait, there's George's church. Wait, 3/4 the hour. Wait, 2:00. Well, that's a nice hour for him to be coming back to anybody. Climbing down the stairs, looking about in the area. Did anyone see him? I'll knock him off that little habit tomorrow. First, I'll look at his shirt. I'll see if he has that French letter still in his pocketbook. I suppose he thinks I don't know. Deceitful men. All their 20 pockets aren't enough for their lies. Why should we tell them? Even if it's the truth, they don't believe us. And then tucked up in bed, like one of those babies in the Aristocrat's masterpiece he brought me another time, as if we hadn't enough of that in real life, without some old aristocrat or whatever his name is disgusting you with those rotten pictures. Children with 2 heads and no legs. Now, that's the kind of villainy they're always dreaming about, with not another thing in their empty heads. They ought to get slow poison, the lot of them. Then tea and toast for him in the morning, I suppose, buttered on both sides, new laid eggs, and I suppose I'm nothing anymore. When I wouldn't let him lick me that time in Hollis Street one night, man, tyrant as ever. For the one thing, he slept on the floor half the night, naked the way the Jews used to when somebody dies belonged to them. And he wouldn't eat any breakfast or speak a word, wanting to be petted. So I thought, I stood out for the one time and I let him. He does it all wrong too, thinking only of his own pleasure. His tongue is too flat, or I don't know what. He forgets the wet, and well, I don't. I'll make him do it again if he doesn't mind himself. And I'll lock him down in the cellar with the black beetles. I wonder, was it her? Josie Offerhead, that barmaid. Oh, of course his wife is always sick, or just getting better of it. And he's a good-looking man, too, although he's getting a bit grey round the ears. They're a nice lot, the lot of them, all trying to get my husband to get into their clutches. Well, not if I can help it, making fun of him behind his back. And then I know well when he goes on with his idiotics, because he has sense enough not to squander every penny piece he earns down their gullets, and he looks after his wife and family. Good for nothings. Poor Paddy Dignam, all the same. I'm sorry in a way for him. What are his wife and 5 children going to do unless he was insured? Comical little teetotal of a man, always stuck up in some pub corner, and her or her son waiting. Bill Bailey, won't you please come home? Oh. I suppose he'd go into mourning, even for the cat. And I suppose he's a man now. By this time, he was an innocent little boy when I saw him last, in his Lord Fauntleroy suit and the curly hair, like the prince on the stage when I saw him at Nat Dillon's. He liked me too. Well, I remember. Of course, they all do. Wait. By God. Yes, wait. Yes. Hold on. He was on the cards this morning when I laid out the deck. Union with a young stranger, neither dark nor fair. You met before. I thought it meant him, but he's no chicken. Not a stranger either. Besides, my face was turned the other way. What was the 7th card after that? The 10 of spades for a journey by land, and there was a letter on its way, and scandals too. The 3 queens and the 8 of diamonds for a rise in society. Yes, well, it all came out, and 2 red 8s for new garments. Look at that. And didn't I dream something too? Wait. Yes, there was something about poetry in it. I hope he hasn't long, greasy hair hanging into his eyes, or standing up like a red Indian. What do they go about like that for? Just getting themselves and their poetry laughed at. I always liked poetry when I was a girl. First, I thought he was a poet, like Lord Byron, and not an ounce of it in his composition. I thought he was quite different, too. He's about, 88. I was married, 88. Millie is 15 yesterday, 89. What age was he then at Dylan's? 4 or 5? Well, I suppose he's 20 or more now. I'm not too old for him. If he's 23 or 24. I hope he doesn't have that stuck-up university student sort. No. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stayed with him and sitting down in the old kitchen talking, the Eps's cocoa talking. Of course, he pretended to understand it all. He probably told him he was a professor out of Trinity College. He's very young to be a professor. I hope he's not a professor like Goodwin was. Oh, he was a fine, potent professor of John Jameson. They all write about some woman in their poetry. Well, I suppose he won't find many like me. Where softly sighs of love the light guitar, where poetry's in the air and the blue sea and the moon shining so beautifully. Coming back the night boat from Tarifa, the lighthouse at Europa Point, the guitar that fella played, so expressive. Will I ever go back there again? All new faces, 2 glancing eyes, a lattice hid, as darkly bright as love's own star. Aren't those beautiful words? As love's own star. It'll be a change, the Lord knows, to have someone intelligent to talk to about yourself, not always listening to him and Billy Prescott's ad and the Keys' ad and Tom the Devil's ad, and then if anything goes wrong in their business, we have to suffer. I'm sure he's very distinguished. I'd like to meet a man like that, not like those other God. Besides, he is young. Oh, those fine young men I could see down in Margate Strand bathing place from the side of the rock, standing up in the sun, naked like a god or something, and then plunging into the sea with them. Oh, why aren't all men like that? There'd be some consolation for a woman. That lovely little statue that he brought. Oh, now I could look at him all day, curly head and his shoulders and his finger up for you to listen. Oh, there's real beauty in that and poetry for you. I often felt I wanted to kiss him all over. Also his lovely young cock there, so simple. I wouldn't mind taking him in my mouth if nobody was looking. It looks as if it was asking you to suck it. So clean and white he looked with his boyish face. I would too, in half a minute, and even if some of it went down. What? It's only like gruel or the dew. There's no danger. Besides, he'd be so clean compared to the rest of those pigs of men. I suppose never dream of washing it from one week to another. Only, that's what gives the women the mustaches. I'm sure of it. I'm sure it'll be grand if I can only get with a nice, handsome poet at my age. I'll throw the cards first thing in the morning. And I'll try pairing the lady herself and see if he comes out. And I'll read and study all I can. I'll find out or learn a bit off by heart. If I knew who he liked, he won't think me stupid. If he thinks all women are the same and I can teach him the other part, I'll make him feel all over till he half faints under me, and then he'll write about me and love her and is his mistress publicly too, with our 2 photographs in the paper when he becomes famous. Oh, but then what am I to do about him, though? Mwah! That is no way for him. Has he no manners, nor no refinement, nor no nothing in his nature, slapping us behind like that on me bottom, because I didn't call him Hugh? Ignoramus doesn't know poetry from a cabbage. That's what you get for not keeping him in their place. Pulling off his shoes and his trousers. There on the chair before me, so barefaced, without even asking permission, and standing out in that vulgar way they have to be admired in that shirt, like a priest or a butcher or those old hypocrites in the time of Julius Caesar. Of course, he's right enough to pass the time with as a joke. Sure, you might as well have a conversation with a lion, and I suppose he would have even more for him to say, an old lion would. Oh, well. I suppose it's because they're so plump and tempting in me short petticoat. He couldn't resist. They excite myself sometimes. It's well, all the pleasure that men get out of a woman's body. They're so round and white. For them, always. I wished I was one myself. Just for a change, just to try with that thing they have swelling up on you so hard and at the same time so soft. Oh, when you touch it. My Uncle John has a thing long. I heard those corner boys singing when I passed by, thinking that I didn't hear on Mattervone Lane. My Aunt Mary has a thing hairy. As it was dark, they knew a girl was passing. Didn't make me blush. Why should it either? It's only nature. And he puts his thing long into my Aunt Mary's hairy, etc. And turns out, you put the handle in the sweeping brush. Men all over again. They can pick and choose what they want. A married woman, or a fast widow, or a girl, for their different tastes. But we're always to be chained up. Well, they're not going to be chaining me up, I can tell you that. No damn fear, once I tell you. For stupid husband's jealousy, why can't we just all remain friends over it instead of quarrelling? Her husband found out what they did together. Well, naturally, and can he undo it? He's Coronado anyway, whatever he does. And then he, going off to the mad extreme about the wife and fair tyrants. Now, of course, the man never casts a thought to what the husband or the wife either. No, it's the woman he wants, and he gets her. What else are we given all these desires for, I'd like to know? I can't help it if I'm young still. Can I? I'm lucky I'm not an old shriveled hag before me time living with him, who'd never embracing me, so cold, never embracing me, except sometimes when he's asleep. The wrong end of me. We probably not knowing, I suppose, who he has. Any man that'd kiss a woman's bottom, I'd throw me hat at him. Oh. After that, he'd kiss anything unnatural, where we haven't one atom of any kind of expression in us, all the same, 2 lumps of lard. Before I do that to any man, I'd like a dirty brute. Mere thought is enough. I kissed the feet of you, senorita. Well, there's some sense in that. Didn't he kiss our hall door? Yes, he did. Oh, what a madman. Nobody understands his cracked ideas except for me. Still, a woman wants to be embraced 20 times a day almost to make her feel young, look young, no matter by who, so long as to be in love or loved by somebody if the fellow you want isn't there. Sometimes, by the Lord God, I was thinking, would I go around by the quays there some dark evening, nobody'd know me, and I'd pick up a sailor off the sea. You'd be hot on for it. You'd not care a pin whose I was, only do it up off in some gate somewhere. Or one of those wild-looking gypsies at Rathfarman. They had their camps pitched near the Bloomfield Laundry to try and steal our things if they could. Now, I only sent mine there once for the name. Model Laundry. Sending me back over and over. Some old ones, odd stockings. Ooh, that blackguard-looking fellow with the fine eyes. With the switch, peel in the switch. Attack me in the dark and ride me up against the wall without a word. Or a murderer. Anybody? What they do themselves, the fine gentlemen in their silk hats. That KC lives somewhere up this way, coming out of Hardwick Lane. The night he gave us the fish supper on account of winning over the boxing match. Of course, it was for me that he gave it. Now, I knew him by his gaiters and the walk. And when I turned around just a minute to see, just after him, some filthy prostitute. Then he goes home to his wife after that. Oh, only I suppose half those sailors are rotten with disease. Oh! Move your big carcass out of that, for the love of God. Listen to him. The winds that waft my sighs to thee. So well may he sleep, the great Poldo de la Flora. If he knew how the cards came out for him this morning, he'd have something to sigh for. A dark man in some perplexity between 2 sevens too, in prison for the Lord knows what he does that I don't know, and I'm to be sleuching around down in the kitchen to get his lordship his breakfast while he's rolled up like a mummy too. I'd like to see myself at it. You show them some attention. They treat you like dirt. I don't care what anybody says. It'd be much better for the world to be governed by the women. In it, you wouldn't see women going and killing each other and slaughtering each other. When do you ever see women rolling around drunk like they do, or gambling every penny piece they have and losing it on horses? Yes, because a woman, whatever she does, she knows when to stop. Sure. They wouldn't be in the world at all if it weren't for women. They hadn't had a mother to look after them, what I never had. That's why he's out running wild now, out at night, away from his books, on account of the usual rowy house that he's living in, I suppose. Well, it's a poor case, those that have a fine son like that and they're not satisfied, and I have none. Was he not able to make one? It wasn't my fault. We came together when I was watching the 2 dogs up in her behind in the middle of the naked street. That disheartened me altogether. I suppose I shouldn't have buried him in that little woolly jacket I knitted, crying as I was. Give it to some poor child, but I knew well we'd never have another. Our first death, too. It was. We were never the same since. Oh, Carol, I am not going to cry myself in the glooms about that anymore. I wonder why he wouldn't stay the night. I felt all the time it was somebody strange he brought. Instead of roving around the city, meeting God knows who, nightwalkers and pickpockets. His poor mother wouldn't like that if she was alive. Him ruining himself for life, perhaps. Still, it is a lovely hour. So silent. I used to love coming home after dances. The air of the night. They have friends they can talk to. We've none. Either he wants what he won't get, or it's some woman ready to stick her knife in you. I hate that in women. No wonder they treat us the way they do. We are a dreadful lot of bitches. Well, I suppose it's all the troubles we have. Makes us so snappy. I love flowers. I'd love to have the whole place swimming in roses. Oh, God of heaven, there is nothing like nature. The wild mountains, and then the sea, and the waves rushing, and the beautiful country with the fields of oats and wheat, and then all kinds of things, the fine cattle going about. Now that would do your heart good. Rivers and lakes and flowers of all sorts, shapes and sizes and smells and colours springing up even out of the ditches, primroses and violets. Nature it is. And as for them saying there's no God, I wouldn't give a snap of my 2 fingers for them. Why don't they go out and create something themselves? I often ask him. The atheists, or whatever they call themselves, they go and wash the couples off themselves first. Then they go howling for the priest, and they dying. And why? Why? Because they're afraid of hell on account of their bad conscience. Ah, yes. I know them well. Who was the first person in the universe before there was anybody that made it at all? Huh? Who? That they don't know. Neither do I. But, so there you are. They might as well try to stop the sun from rising tomorrow. The sun shines for you, senorita, he said. Now that was the day. We were lying among the rhododendrons on Houthead in the grey tweed suit and the straw hat. The day I got him to propose to me. Yes. First, I gave him a bit of seed cake out of me mouth. And it was leap year. Like now. Yes. 16 years ago. My God. Oh. After that long kiss, I near lost my breath, yes. He said I was a flower of the mountain. Yes. So we are all a woman's body, flowers all. Yes. That was the one true thing he said in his life. That and the sun shines for you today. Yes. That was why I liked him. Because I saw he understood or felt what a woman is. And I knew I could always get round him. And I gave him all the pleasure I could till he asked me to say yes. I wouldn't answer at first. I only looked out over the sea and the sky. I was thinking of so many things he didn't know of. Mulvey and Mr. Stanhope and Hester and Father and old Captain Groves and the sailors and playing All Birds Fly and I Say Stoop and washing up the dishes. That's what they called it on the pier, and the sentry in front of the governor's house with that thing round his white helmet. Poor devil, he was half roasted. And the Spanish girls laughing and laughing in their shawls and their tall combs. And the auctions in the morning, the Greeks and the Jews and the Arabs and the devil knows who else from all the ends of Europe and Duke Street and the foul market all clucking out of Yar Larby Sharons and the poor donkeys slipping half asleep and the vague fellows in the cloaks asleep in the shade on the steps and the big wheels of the carts of the bulls and the old castle, thousands of years old, and those handsome Moors standing all in white and turbans like kings, asking you to sit down in their little bit of a shop, and Rhonda with the old windows of the posadas, two glancing eyes, a lattice hid for her lover to kiss her through the iron, and the wine shops half open at night, and the castanets, and the night we missed the boat at Algeciras, the watchman going about serene with his lamp, oh, that awful deep down torrent, oh, and the sea crimson sometimes like fire, and the glorious sunsets, and the fig trees and the Alameda gardens, and all the queer little streets, and the blue and pink and yellow houses, and the rose gardens, and the jessamine, and the geraniums and cactuses. And Gibraltar, as a girl, where I was, a flower of the mountain. Yes, when I put the rose in my hair, like the Andalusian girls used, or shall I wear red? Yes. And how he kissed me under the Moorish wall. And I thought, well, as well him as another. And I asked him with my eyes to say, ask again. Would I? To say, yes, my mountain flower. And at first, I put my arms around him, yes, and I drew him to me so he could feel my breasts all perfume, yes, and his heart was going like mad, and I said, yes. I said, yes, I will. Yes. Hello, and thank you for staying with us. My name is Drucie McDaniel. I'm lucky enough to have been the Molly Bloom for the Rosenbach Museum and Library for the past, I'm not going to tell you how many years, but ever since Bloomsday began. How about that? Do the research yourself. I'd like to thank them. I'd like to thank you. Happy Bloomsday.